Hello and welcome. My name is Will Dawson, and this is the 17th video in my tutorial series for Construct 3, where I extend the work that Matthew Marquardt did in his most excellent tutorial series. In this video, we are going to create a main menu for our game. We don't want to necessarily just have the game start up out of nowhere. We should have some sort of a splash title screen, a button that says begin play and one that says quit and stuff like that. So basically, we're just going to have a new layout for this. So I'm going to come over here to layouts and I'm going to add a layout. In this case, we have some events that we have already made in our level 1 and level 2 that I would like to use for the menu screen as well. So I'm going to not add a new separate event sheet. I'm just going to continue with this same layout that we want because we're using the free edition and we don't want to have to add those events and waste events that we already have. It's probably if you're making a professional game, it's probably worth it to have separate event sheets. But if we're going to be really stingy with how many events we have, put everything in one event sheet so that you can keep everything as small as possible, and that actually will pay off. So layout only is what we're going to select. And here we are. So when I hit play, there's nothing in here, right? We're not going to see anything. This is it. This is our game. It's just white. That's perfect, right? I don't know. Nothing. There's nothing there. What's not perfect about this, since we haven't added anything yet, and we still don't have anything, is that if we look at our event sheet, there we go. We are supposed to have, let's see, where is it? On the start of layout, we're supposed to get music looping. But we don't have music looping. Notice it was just a blank white screen, nothing there yet. So the reason for that is that because our new layout here doesn't have an event sheet set. So when we duplicated our level 1 into level 2, level 1 automatically had its event sheet set to event sheet 1. When we duplicated that, this was a duplicate, so it's had the exact same assignment right there. So we're going to have to manually set this to have to point at event sheet 1 so that it can share those same events. Now, we're not going to use any of the rest of the events. We're not going to have a character in our menu screen, so we can't, there's not going to be any enemies, so none of those events will trigger. They'll still be there in the background, but they just won't mean anything to us. Okay, so we've set that to event sheet 1, and I'm going to rename this right now. Instead of layout 1, I'm going to call it L0 for level 0. That makes sense to me. Just to keep my naming scheme happening right here. Okay, so here's my level 0 tab. Now what I want to do is, this is not completely necessary because we don't have a character that can move through here. It doesn't matter what's going on in the rest of the level outside of where our screen is going to show, but I do want to, just to keep this thing nice and crisp, I'm gonna resize the level so that it's literally only as big as the window that we're going to see. So right now it's 640 by 360, and I need to make that smaller. You can see how big your window is here by going to the project properties here. I'm looking at level 0 property layout. Level 0 properties. Come down here and you can see the viewport size is 320 by 180. I'm just going to copy that. Highlight it. Copy. And now I'm going to click back to the level 0. I'm just going to paste that right here. 320 by 180. When I click out of there, it will recognize that I've changed it, and this will all shrink down to the size of that. Click, and there it is. So that's going to be our level right there. Okay, so I want this to have a similar kind of a look to what we already have in the game. So I'm going to use the same background that I'm using in the levels, which is my, let's see, I think I just called it background, this one. So if I drag that out and drop it there, that is what I get. Now, if we resize this, it just cuts off the rest of the picture. It doesn't actually make the picture smaller. And we do not want to make the picture smaller. We can see the tiles repeat there. We don't want to make the tiles, wow, made that way too big. We don't want to make the tiles too small. Or we don't want to change the size of the image, because then it's going to change the size of the image in all of our backgrounds because we used the exact same background object over here. We could make a new one, but I think we're going to be fine just by positioning this so that the part that we have in the viewport area is just a slice of the background that we like. And I think something like that. If we want to see what it looks like in the game, keep a little bit of water in the bottom. I'm just going to hit play so I can see that. Yeah, you got a little sky on all that side. I like this just fine. So now what I want is some sort of a frame for the title of my game. And so again, in keeping a visual theme with the rest of my project, I'm going to use the tile background to make that. So I'm going to grab my tile map from the project, something I already have, and I'm just going to drag it in. Notice what I get. This is the exact tile map that I used as my terrain for level 1, because that's exactly what this was. When we made it in level 2, we duplicated the entire thing. So we had a duplicate of the tile background, and then we changed it. We didn't change the master item over here of the tile map, so the master object, the template for all of them. We went in and selected the exact instance of it, and we changed that. So that's what we have in level 2, is an altered instance that doesn't match the master object. And that's what we're going to do here as well. So I'm going to start by just erasing most of this. I don't need it. I'm going to keep that top corner over here, because that's even the wrong stuff there. I'm just going to erase everything. This must be very fun for you to watch while I erase. Maybe there's a more streamlined way for me to do that, but okay, I'm done. So now I'm going to grab my pencil tool and I'm going to draw in some corners. And let's see, I don't know, maybe about like that. And what I'm going to use is the dirt that's kind of in the center of it as the actual background for what I'm using here. Oops. Let's see. And I messed up my corner. Okay, I have to use a pencil tool for that. Good. So now I don't need this to be huge. I'm just going to make it small enough that, and I'm just going to kind of visually, with my arrow tool, visually center that maybe at the top. I think that looks pretty good. Let's see it in the actual game just to check. I can live with that. It looks like it's a little off center, hanging a little closer to this side than the other, but for right now, I'm happy. Okay. Now, let's add a text box to this. So I'm just going to right-click out here and insert a new object. And this is going to be a text box. Insert right there. And it says text for right now. Let's change that. The name is let's change the name right here in the, as long as we're going to come down here and the text of it is text, but we want it to say, I'm going to call mine Swamp Adventure. Adventure. Okay. So you can see that the text has changed up here. I'm going to make that just a little bit bigger. And back up at the top here, I'm going to make this, let's call this title text. How's that? We just have to, I'm going to change it so it says text title. And the reason for that is so that when I see that object in my project over here, here's all my object text title, right? Maybe my UI coin display, I could have named text UI coin display or something like that, so that all my text items would be more or less together over here in this menu. It's not a huge deal, but okay. So we have our text here, and it looks horrible because it's black on a dark brown background, and that just does not stand out. So what I want to do is I'm going to go over here to level 1, and I'm going to look at, again, keeping the visual cohesiveness of my project together. I'm going to just steal the this text style. So first thing I need to do is get the color the same. So what color did we use? If we have a look at that, I've got it selected over here. So here's its properties. Its color is this kind of ugly yellow color. So 227, 199, I don't even know what that all is, but I'm just going to highlight it, and 46, and copy that. So I'm just going to copy that color, go back to my level 0 tab, and my title text is selected now, and I'm going to scroll down. Here's its color. At the moment, it's black 000, and we're just going to highlight that and paste in. And there is my color. I don't like this text. This looks very not stylized. This was a much better stylized text. And I'm just going to come down here and see the font that I used was called Papyrus. So I'm just going to go find the same font in level 0, select my text, and down here, instead of Arial font, we'll find Papyrus. So it's got that really stylized look, which is why I probably grabbed it. Okay, Swamp Adventure. That looks much more like something fun is about to happen. It looks a little small to me, so it's size 12, and if I want that to go from there all the way to there, what's that? Maybe 16? I don't know. I'll just put in 16 and see what it looks like. Oh, I like that. Just going to kind of center it there. Tried to get the top of the D and the bottom of the P to kind of poke out the same distance there. That looks nice. Yes. Yes, I can live with that. Okay, so now we've got a visual thing happening here, but the menu still doesn't do anything. So let's add some buttons. Just going to right-click here, insert a new object, and we've got buttons right here. Click, insert. I want one button right here and one button right here, so I'm going to click that and reposition it. I'm just going to, I don't know, my instinct is to line it up with this edge right here, and we can have a similar button on the other side that lines up with the outside edge of that. So right now this button is first of all just called button. Let's make this the play button, so I'm going to call it button play, so that button is the name, and it puts it in alphabetical order here according to button instead of according to play. So button play. And the other one will be called button quit when I get there. Right now the text on it says okay. Let's change that to say text. I'm going to use all caps. Play. So there's my play button. Okay, we have a button. We'll make it work in a second. But first, let's get the other button put in here. Okay. right there, position it. Just to make sure, like right now, I've got it placed so that I've got this edge real nice, but you can see the play button is higher on the y-axis than my OK button is, my quit button here. So what I'm going to do is look at my play button. I just have to decide which one I like the position of right more. And so I'm going to use the play button. And its position is 53, 118. This 118 right here is the Y position. So I'm just going to, if I like the X position on this one, I'm just going to look and see, okay, 121 should be 118. And that positions it perfectly level with the other button. So that'll give me just a nice crisp visual look there. So again, shouldn't say, okay, this is my button quit. Doesn't need to be all caps right there. And then the text on that should say, now in all caps, because I prefer that, quit. Okay. So again, just to check your work as you go. This looks like an old video game. I'm happy with this. So when you click on these, they blink. And that's just the built-in behavior of the buttons that Construct gives us in the first place. And I am happy with that. That's fine. Perhaps we could come in here and find, I don't see a color for the buttons. I imagine there's a way to change that, but right now I'm happy with this. So in order for us to be able to do anything with these, I mean, the mouse can click on them, but we need to be able to have an event refer to the mouse click that we are clicking on. So what we need to do is we need to add a mouse object to our game. So I'm just going to insert a new object, and let's see, down here where it says input devices, we have gamepads, mouse, and touch screens. We're going to use the mouse. Insert it. The mouse has been mouse object has been added to the entire project. So now our events can refer to what the mouse does because we actually have the mouse object in the game. Okay. So now we'll go to our event sheet and add the functionality for this. I'm going to add an event, and it's going to be the button play on clicked. And what should it do? Should load level 1. So I believe that is a system function, and it is going to be go to layout. And we don't need this to be, we could use go to layout by name or something, but in this case, since the menu is only ever going to be at the very beginning of the game, the way I have this at least, we can use go to layout, and right now we'll just tell it we want to go to level 1 every single time. This menu will never take us to level 2. You have to defeat level 1 to get to level 2. So that works. Let's hit play. So here we are. Test it. Play. Okay, well, we have some problems. It does, in fact, take us to the first level, but it doesn't kill our music. So let's add that as an action right here. Audio. When we click that button, it will stop all the audio that is playing, because when we get to level 1, it's going to start new audio for us. And we'll just test that. Here we go, play. And the audio starts over. Excellent. Okay, so button number 1 works. Let's set button number 2. So in this case, it's going to be the quit button on clicked. Okay, so just like we had to, we already could see the mouse in and click on the buttons when we tested the game before we had added the mouse object to our project. It just there was no way to refer to it in code. So in the same way, for our new event where we're clicking on the quit button, we already can click on the quit button and the game is already playing in a web browser window. That's how this thing plays. But it's not, we can't refer to what the web browser is doing in code yet because we haven't added the web browser as an object in our game. So the object has to be there in this list if we're going to get to it with code. So we need to insert a new object. And way down here at the bottom, we have a web browser. And that's going to refer to the window that the game plays in. That's the browser itself. Okay, so browser has been added to the list. Now in our event sheet, we can say when you click on the quit button, the action that we can have is for the browser to, let's see, close. So let's try that out. We already tested the first button. It goes to level 1. If I hit the quit button, it closes the window. That's excellent. So now, I think that's all we really need for a basic menu. You could have, I hope you see how this works, and if you want more options, maybe you want to play, go to level 1, maybe you want to play, go to level 2, you're going to need more different events for that. So right now, I think we have a basic menu that is perfectly functional and nobody's going to miss anything at this point. And we still have 18 events left that we can build into what's left of our game. So the only thing left right now is to tell the game when we eventually compile a finished game that is standalone, that's not going to work with Construct. It's just like, this is what you would sell on Xbox or Steam or whatever. Or just since you're just building this game for your own ends right now, something that you could download and have on your computer or your Chromebook or whatever you're using, without having to load the Construct website every time. You could just have this as a standalone app. Which one of these layouts does Construct think is first? Well, that is in the project settings for the entire project. So I'm going to click on what my name is for the project right now. Notice that I named the game differently from, I went through Mr. Marquit's series of tutorials here, and so I just named this after him because that's what this game was at the beginning, is more or less what he was doing. So the project name is Test Run Marquit Game, but the title that I just gave it here is called Swamp Adventure. They don't have to be the same, and when you compile this, you're going to be able to give it whatever name you want. So right now let's see. So I'm going to click on that. Stop. And then I'm going to come over here to the properties for the game, and notice it's on startup, the first layout, instead of going to whatever default it is, its default is that it goes to level 1 because that's the first layout that was ever created in this project. But right now, I want level 0 to be it, so I'm going to just pick that from my list. And that is it. So we have ensured that the menu screen right here is going to load first. And we've ensured that it does what it's supposed to do. It quits, it takes us to level 1, and that is all we need for this video. So in this case, for those of you who are in my class, I'm going to want a screenshot of your finished project here. So I would like to be able to see your level 0 or however you've named it. I want to see in the layouts here your menu. And I want to be able to see your browser and your buttons in the list over here. So I'd like to see all that in your screenshot. Go ahead and take that screenshot when you're finished, get it attached to the Google Classroom assignment, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.